Hitler may have been the first man on the moon, and that's not even the craziest thing I have in store for you in today's video. Remember the Trojans? Yeah, turns out they were all winos. And did you think King Tut was done surprising people? Think again. Let's dive into these mysterious discoveries. Was Hitler the first man on the moon? There are conspiracy theories and then there are conspiracy theories. And this one is a doozy, folks. You've heard about Hitler escaping Germany to Argentina after World War II, faking his death, and maybe you've even heard that he lived out the rest of his life in a secret Antarctic base. Now people are saying he went to the moon. Hitler on the moon even before Neil Armstrong. Could there be any truth in these crazy rumors? The theory goes like this: Hitler didn't die in 1945. Instead, he zipped away to a secret Nazi base under Antarctic ice, which naturally included a rocket launch pad. From there, he blasted off to the moon to live out the rest of his days doing whatever space fascists do. Yelling at craters? Carving swastikas into moon dust? I'm kind of at a loss here. Just to spice things up, this idea helped inspire Robert Heinlein's 1947 novel Rocket Ship Galileo. Nazi moon bases were already in paperback before NASA even existed. But why? Mostly because conspiracy theorists got bored after the war ended and decided to combine Hitler, Antarctica, UFOs, and space travel into one cinematic mess of a theory. Believers in this theory have a lot more crazy ideas than just Space Hitler. Remember the 1947 Roswell UFO crash? According to conspiracy theorists, the ship wasn't from an alien. It was a Nazi spaceship. The flying saucer sightings that took America by storm in the 50s and 60s were leftovers of Nazi technology. This is really blurring the line between reality and science fiction. So I have to ask, where's the evidence? Okay, there might be some evidence, but I'm using the word evidence loosely. One possible piece of proof is the fact that German U-boats supposedly vanished after the war. According to believers, they headed straight for the South Pole, carrying the Führer himself. You've heard of lost Nazi gold, right? There are supposed to be billions of dollars in gold stolen from the Nazis and never found. This gold was allegedly used to buy real estate. Wait for it, on the freaking moon. How much does a lunar crater cost these days anyway? Sir Roy Fedden, an aeronautical engineer, once said that Nazi aircraft designs were way ahead of their time, and that if the war had gone on longer, the Allies would have seen some terrifying tech. In recent years, NASA has released thousands of moon landing photos, partly to shut down conspiracy theories that claim someone got there first. But how do we know their moon photos aren't doctored? And yes, some people still think the real reason the Apollo program ended was fear of Nazi lunar retaliation. People believe America never returned to the moon because the Nazis would blow up their spaceship. Whether you believe in Moon Hitler or not, it's totally up to you. But I'd love to hear any thoughts you have in the comments, no matter how crazy they might seem. The Sealand Skull, horse alien or hoax? A sleepy little Danish town, a contractor knee-deep in sewer pipes and something weird in the dirt. Is it a Viking treasure? Is it a forgotten IKEA manual? None of the above. It's a skull so bizarre that it looks as though it belongs to a creature who moonlighted on Men in Black. Welcome to Ulstike, Denmark. The contractor I mentioned was a guy doing his normal 9-to-5 job, replacing some crusty old pipes. He hadn't woken up that morning thinking he would find the fossilized head of E.T.'s cousin, but he did. At first, everyone shrugged the discovery off, saying the weird skull probably came from a horse, not a freakish alien monster. To be fair, the former owner of the house was a horse butcher. Finding a horse skull on the property would make sense. The backyard apparently doubled as a graveyard for the poor horses sent to the glue factory. But then someone cleaned the skull off to study it. And lo and behold, it was no horse. Horses don't usually have giant eye sockets that look like they've seen the birth of the universe. Eventually, the academic world rolled up its sleeves to investigate the mystery skull. Scientists at the College of Veterinary Medicine got their hands on it and started doing tests, but they were stumped. The scientists said it's probably a mammal skull, but they don't have the foggiest notion of which mammal. It was such a conundrum that the skull was passed along to the brainiacs over at the Niels Bohr Institute in Copenhagen. These people are known for quantum physics, not mystery skulls. But when have you ever seen a room of nerds turn down a mystery? While they didn't solve the mystery, they did run carbon dating tests. The skull is from somewhere between 1200 and 1280 AD. That's medieval times and not the immersive restaurant experience in Vegas. The official dating by real scientists makes the skull very clearly not a hoax, but there's still the issue of finding out what animal it belonged to 800 years ago. Not a human, not a horse, and not any mammal scientists know about. Could it be Bigfoot, the Yeti, or a real alien skull unearthed on our planet? Now here's the weird part. Okay, the weirder part. No other bones were found. Not a femur, not a rib, not even a creepy toenail. Just a skull with its gaping eye holes. Plus, it was found near the sewer pipes, which are not 800 years old. This seems to suggest someone or something put the skull in the ground on purpose, and fairly recently. Did you know Denmark has its own Illuminati? Founded in 1350, the group is called Lodre Lux P Pegasus, which roughly translates to "We're mysterious and we know it." Kidding. The real translation is the Order of Pegasus. This secret society is said to have protected strange and ancient objects through the centuries, and its member list is nuts. Shakespeare, H.G. Wells, and Thomas Jefferson were part of the Order of Pegasus. Rumor has it they came into possession of the mysterious skull and kept it under wraps. Maybe one of them buried this thing in Olsticky to keep the existence of monsters a secret. What do you think? And now for a quick break, but first I wanted to give a shout out and big thank you to Sprowit and Edgar Pacheco for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. Gardening in ancient Jerusalem. The midday sun blazes over the ancient stones of Jerusalem. Dust swirls in the air, tourists fan themselves with brochures, and somewhere an archaeologist brushes dirt off a 2,000-year-old olive pit like it's the crown jewels. They just found proof that the biblical tale of the crucifixion is more than just a story. Our next location is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, Christianity's holiest hotspot and the site of an ancient gardening club. Archaeologists recently got their Indiana Jones on and uncovered some wild stuff a stone's throw from where Jesus Christ was crucified and buried. Think olive trees, grapevines, and biblical vibes so strong, you'd swear someone just turned water into wine. Professor Francesca Stasola from Sapienza University of Rome said her team discovered seeds and pollen from the 1st century AD. This is amazing, but do you know why? Because according to the New Testament, John chapter 19 verse 41, Jesus was buried in a garden. Christian tradition tells us that the garden was at the site of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Finding seeds from the 1st century on the grounds proves the garden existed. Whether Jesus was buried in that garden, that's a whole other matter. But the garden is real, and now archaeologists have physical proof of it. This must have been what it looked like in the 1st century AD, said Stasola, probably while holding up a dusty seed like Rafiki holding Simba. The excavation, reported first by the Times of Israel, has uncovered more than just biblical landscaping. Archaeologists also found Iron Age artifacts, ceramics, metals, glass, everything except a Starbucks tumbler. The discoveries show people hung out in the garden a lot. Stasola pointed out that the area has been a pilgrimage site since the 4th century. That means folks have been flocking here for nearly 1,700 years. Here's a bit of background info to tie all this up with a neat little bow. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre was originally built in 326 AD, but it got wrecked in 1009 by Islamic ruler Al-Hakim bi Amr Allah. During the Christian Crusades about a century later, the knights rebuilt it with enough stone and faith to last to today. Most of the church you see now is Crusader architecture. The excavation is peeling back layers of history in one of the world's most spiritually charged spots. It's sacred ground, yes, but it's also a real physical place with dirt, seeds, pollen, and plenty of mysteries left to dig up. And hey, if nothing else, it proves that even 2,000 years ago, people appreciated a good olive tree and a killer view. Maybe Jesus was buried in the garden. Maybe everything the Bible says really happened. Secrets of King Tut revealed. You'd think that after 100 years, a tomb would be fresh out of surprises. But nope, King Tut just pulled an archaeological sequel. Discovered in 1922, Tutankhamun's tomb has been the Beyoncé of ancient burial sites. Glittering, iconic, and endlessly talked about. More than 5,000 treasures have been pulled out of the tomb already, including a solid gold mask unlike anything else in the whole world. Amid the golden glory, some very ordinary-looking items sat around collecting dust because no one thought they were worth much. Now it seems those meh objects are worth quite a lot. Dr. Nicholas Brown is an Egyptologist at Yale and a part-time ancient ritual detective. In a new study, he zeroed in on a group of humble clay trays and wooden staffs found next to King Tut's sarcophagus. For decades, archaeologists treated them like the coat hangers of the tomb. It's amazing they didn't throw them out. According to Dr. Brown, these unassuming props were part of one of the most important burial ceremonies in Egyptian history, something known as the Assyrian funerary rite. It was a resurrection-themed ritual starring none other than Osiris, Egypt's god of the underworld. In short, these trays weren't random examples of pottery. They were used for ritual libations, offerings of sacred Nile water meant to help Tut refresh, recharge, and respawn in the afterlife. And these staffs were treated like coat hangers. Yeah, try magic wands. Brown says the staffs were magic wands that might have played a key role in waking up the deceased king, kind of like alarm clocks for mummies. Not waking up in the real world, but in the afterlife. This aligns with an ancient myth where Osiris is reawakened with staffs placed behind his head. These objects might not be gold or bejeweled like your mom's cell phone, but they are connected to a mysterious religious ceremony. If Dr. Brown's right, this may be the earliest evidence ever of the Osiris awakening ritual being performed. Now that's pretty cool. The staffs might make more sense if you have a bit more background. Tutankhamun's father was Akhenaten, who tried to erase the original gods in favor of a single solar deity. But when Akhenaten died and Tut took over the throne at age 8, the young king brought back Osiris and the other gods. Dr. Brown thinks the ritual objects might be proof of the religious reboot, like the return of a mythological franchise. I'm just amazed that King Tut's tomb is still giving these kinds of results after so many years. It was first opened in November 1922 by Howard Carter in Egypt's Valley of the Kings. When Carter peeked in by candlelight and was asked, "Can you see anything?" his answer became immortal. "Yes," he said, "wonderful things. Goosebumps. Goosebumps every time. The oldest human bones. Mistaken identities. Sometimes you think you have something really cool, only to find out you were wrong all along." For 70 years, Japan thought it had uncovered the oldest human remains in the entire country. And then the bones turned out to not even be human. It's a furry and bizarre case of mistaken identity. In the 1950s, a team of scientists digging around a quarry near Toyohashi found a few fossilized bones, a humerus and part of a femur. They declared in front of the whole nation that they found Japan's oldest human remains. Champagne was popped, textbooks were updated, and the bones were held aloft as treasures of Japan's prehistoric narrative. But here's the thing, the bones were a little dubious and some scientists weren't buying it. By the late 1980s, people started squinting at those bones and going, this doesn't look quite human. Anatomical comparisons raised eyebrows. Still, the mystery lingered for decades, until now. These days, scientists have high-tech tools like CT scans instead of just guesswork and magnifying glasses. A team led by Gen Suwa at the University of Tokyo took another look at the bones using modern imaging. And what did they find? Go on and guess. What animal do you think the bones are really from? Scientists initially thought the bones belonged to humans from 20,000 years ago. They actually belonged to a prehistoric brown bear that lived about 20,000 years ago called Ursus actus. Honestly, you can't even be mad. That bear just trolled the entire field of archaeology for 70 years. With Toyohashi's fossils kicked out of the Human Club, the title of Japan's oldest human remains now goes to bones found in Hamakita, dated between 14,000 and 17,000 years ago. Not bad, but not quite the 20,000-year bragging rights Japan thought they had. No one has ever been able to figure out when precisely human beings arrived in Japan. Finding the oldest human bones would have been a big help, but this whole bear fiasco has just created more confusion, especially since in the Ryukyu Islands, Tools have been found dating back 32,000 years. For now, Japan's most ancient mysteries of humanity and civilization remain unsolved. The Trojans were wasted. The year is 2500 BC. You're in the city of Troy before the Trojan horse. The sun is shining, your goat hasn't run off yet, and the party is warming up. You've got your clay cup in one hand, someone's lyre performance in the background, and wine flowing like it's Black Friday at a vineyard. It's not a celebration, it's just another day in Troy. A new study has shown that the Trojans were total drunkards. It was some super smart German researchers who figured it out using a bit of chemical wizardry. A team of researchers from the universities of Tübingen, Bonn, and Jena rolled up with high-tech gear and a passion for ancient boozing. Their mission was to determine whether the Trojans were sipping wine from their funky two-handled clay cups called depas goblets, or if they were hydrating with glorified grape juice. Using gas chromatography and mass spectrometry, which both sound like something you need goggles for, Maxime Regeau and crew found succinic and pyruvic acids in ancient Trojan cups. These are both dead giveaways of fermented grape juice, which you can just call wine. Real wine too, not Capri Sun, but real handmade wine. And yes, it gets better. The goblets scientists tested weren't found strictly in royal temples where priests were known for getting a little tipsy before ceremonies. Researchers also found wine residue in regular old peasant cups dug up from ruins outside the fancy citadel in the heart of Troy. What I'm trying to say is that Trojans loved their booze. It was a BYOB-type civilization which the famous poet Homer said repeatedly in his works like the Iliad. There's a scene in the Iliad where Hephaestus, the god of fire, hands his mom a double goblet and starts pouring drinks for the whole god squad. That's not just poetic flair. It turns out Homer knew what he was talking about. People were passing around cups, clinking them like it was 1999 BC, and tossing back sweet nectar like they just finished a 10-year siege. But were the Trojans loose drunkards or casually enjoying themselves? In most ancient civilizations, wine was like the ultra-premium drink you only got if you were rich, powerful, or descended from Zeus. But in Troy, it was everywhere. Dr. Stefan Blum and his team tested vessels found far from the elite part of the city in the ancient ghetto. Sure enough, full of tasty wine particles. Ancient Troy had a more liberal drinking culture than most modern music festivals. For those of you just learning that Troy isn't a fictional place in a movie with a half-naked Brad Pitt, I have some awesome facts for you. Troy was confirmed as real in the 1870s by a German businessman named Heinrich Schliemann. He was a man with more ambition than excavation etiquette. As a kid, he read Homer and convinced himself he was going to find the legendary city. Then he grew up and actually did it. Way to go, Schliemann. Only he turned out to be a bit of a bad archaeologist. Schliemann's methods were on par with that of a bulldozer. He destroyed entire layers of the ancient city while trying to uncover it, which is the archaeological version of ripping open a gift so fast you destroy what's inside. But hey, he did find some stuff like gold masks, swords, cups, and the now famous Priam's treasure. He also racked up international smuggling charges. He proved to the world Troy is real, and now scientists have proved to the world that Trojans loved wine more than your Aunt Karen. Would you party it up in ancient Troy? The woman in the silver dress. Nearly 400 years ago, a ship went down off the Dutch island of Texel. Inside it were silk stockings, silver goblets, Turkish carpets, and 2 dresses worth more than a small house. One of them, made of pale silk and threaded with actual silver, is the kind of gown you'd wear to meet a queen or marry a prince. It had been folded into a trunk along with its owner's mirror, her brush, a red velvet purse, and her best stockings. All of it packed neatly for a voyage that never ended. Who was this mystery woman? No one knows, but her wardrobe was found in the deep blue sea. Recreational divers first spotted the sunken ship, nicknamed the Palmwood Wreck, in the early 2010s. Buried under sand in the shallow Wadden Sea, it had over 1,500 artifacts, things like furniture, dishware, books, and to everyone's shock, pieces of a 17th century life frozen in time. Among the cargo were the 2 dresses, a red satin gown embroidered with silver and the now famous silver wedding dress. Textile experts were skeptical at first, since it's rare to find clothing from that era, let alone something so extravagant. But when they began sorting through more than 100 fragile fragments, they realized they had the real deal. The dress itself is almost absurd in its luxury. Woven with tiny strips of silver and designed in a braided heart pattern, it could only have belonged to someone at the very top of society. Conservators believe it was a wedding gown, and if there's one dress you don't throw away, it's that one. Also in the trunk was a pair of ridiculously fine silk stockings. So fine, in fact, that modern textile experts recruited knitting volunteers to try and recreate them. Most couldn't. The silk was hard to handle. It shrank, it twisted. One sock could take hundreds of hours to make. "We wear socks every day and don't think about it," said curator Alec Ewing. "But these are insane. I never thought I'd be talking about insane socks on the channel, but here I am." So who was this woman who lost the greatest dress of the 1600s? She was obviously wealthy and stylish. Historians suspect she may have been the wife of a diplomat or merchant returning to Amsterdam from years abroad, perhaps in the Eastern Mediterranean. But her name? Lost. Her portrait? It doesn't exist. What historians do have is her mirror, corroded and dulled, but still holding something close to a reflection. "I can picture her," said Alec Ewing, "sitting there looking into that mirror before a dinner or ceremony, adjusting the folds of that silver dress." 4 centuries later, this woman is still alive, her clothing still captivating people, yet she's nothing but a ghost. Cuteness in ancient Egypt. Everyone's always talking about mummies, pyramids, temples, hidden shrines, and other ghoulish stuff from ancient Egypt. But what about the cute side of Egypt? You're going to love this. In 2024, a dog climbed to the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Naturally, the internet exploded. Memes, debates, conspiracy theories. People couldn't get enough of the dog. But while everyone else was arguing about that fearless pup's climbing skills, researchers were digging up something even more heart-melting from ancient Egypt's past. They found a 3,000-year-old mechanical dog toy. The ancient Egyptians invented a little robotic dog before there was electricity, batteries, or squeakers. This artifact is from Egypt's 18th dynasty, around the time of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, who ruled from 1390 to 1352 BC. It's a dog toy older than Rome, the Bible, and English. Made from elephant ivory, which was a big status symbol back then, the toy is a small statuette that looks like a mid-jump hunting dog frozen in time as it lunges for some imaginary prey. But it's no normal statue. When you pull a tiny lever under its belly, the dog's mouth opens and closes. Out come 2 sharp little teeth and a red painted tongue. Is it a toy? A decorative piece? A love letter to someone's favorite pup? Scientists don't really know, but what they do know is someone spent serious money and time to carve it. This wasn't a kid's plaything. It was probably someone's prized possession, someone who really loved their canine friend. Oh, and it even has a collar. Come on, that's love. When people think of ancient Egypt, cats usually get all the glory. Fair, they had their own gods, mummies, and fan base. But dogs were more than just helpers and hunters. They were family too, same as cats. Egyptians named their dogs, dressed them up in fancy collars, and when the dog died, they mummified it and buried it with honors, sometimes even alongside their owners. How many people do you know who were buried with their 4-legged pals? There's still a mystery that seems unsolvable, and that's trying to find out what breed of dog the toy represents. A lot of modern people try to match ancient dogs with today's breeds. Pharaoh hounds, Salukis, Basenjis, etc. But the truth is that it's not that simple. Many of those dogs just look like ancient ones. Genetically, they're much newer than any dogs the Egyptians had. Ancient Egyptian art shows a variety of pups. Long-legged sighthounds, squat little dogs that look like corgis, mastiff types, even mutts. But only one Egyptian dog breed is known by name, the Tessim. This dog was tall, elegant, with a curled tail and alert ears. The Tessim is extinct today, but they were all over the art and tomb walls of ancient times. The closest modern comparison is probably a Basenji. Sadly, experts don't know who the ivory dog toy belonged to. It was part of the personal collection of Howard Carter, the guy who found King Tut's tomb and made that awesome quote I told you earlier. It currently lives at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, but the object's original find spot is as big of a mystery as its purpose. Was it a child's favorite toy? A tribute to a beloved hunting companion? A rich person's status symbol with a mechanical surprise? Let me know in the comments, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. The city under the sand. Somewhere beneath the scorching sands of Dubai, where your shoes melt and your ice cream boils before you can lick it, lies a 5,000-year-old city. But here's the kicker. The city was found without shovels, without dust clouds, and without guys with teeny tiny hammers and big brimmed hats. Who found the city? Everyone's new best friend, AI, artificial intelligence. Not even archaeologists have job security anymore. While the rest of us were asking ChatGPT to write breakup texts or name our fantasy football team, archaeologists were using AI to uncover ancient civilizations. So how did this digital excavation begin? In the middle of the Rub al-Khali, aka the Empty Quarter, a team of scientists looked at the vast lifeless desert and said, "Hey, let's scan this sucker with space lasers." The team combined synthetic aperture radar and AI to look through the sand. Not around it, not under it, through it, like Superman with a PhD. What once looked like a beige wasteland turned into a historical hotbed. Pathways, settlements, maybe even ancient snack stands. By looking through the sand, AI could see the ruins of a city that was likely swallowed several thousand years ago. The best part is that not a single archaeologist had to go digging in the blistering hot sun. It was all done on computers. Researchers believe this newly discovered society dates back at least 5,000 years. They've already identified full settlements, actual organized city-like areas, not just tents and camel footprints like you might expect. And the AI outlined what seems to be trading routes through the desert. This was the early Amazon Prime, before the 2-day shipping. For a long time, it was believed that the Arabian Peninsula was uninhabitable during the Bronze Age. It was assumed nobody was crazy enough to live under the sweltering sun. But thanks to all these new finds, scientists now know people were living in the Empty Quarter. So, not so empty. I just wish scientists could learn more about these people. It seems they had a whole civilization like the Egyptians or the Babylonians, but it was all eaten by sand. No one knows anything about their culture or traditions. Now that SAR and AI have proven they can uncover hidden cities faster than you can say Atlantis, experts are looking at other hard-to-reach places. Over the next few years, cities could be found in the Sahara, the Amazon, and under the Siberian permafrost. And you can find all the newest information right here on Origins Explained. A terrifying sacrifice. It's time for a bit of archaeological terror. What's been found at a 5,000-year-old burial site in southeastern Turkey has left experts speechless and mortified. Dare I say, even traumatized. They stumbled upon rows of young teenage girls laid to rest not by disease or war, but through ritual sacrifice. The site is Basur Hoyuk, once part of ancient Mesopotamia. When researchers first excavated the place, they found elaborately constructed tombs packed with copper artifacts, beads, and high-end textiles. It was some serious burial wealth. Then things took a dark turn. In one grave, 2 12-year-old children were found surrounded by the bodies of 8 others who had clearly died violently. Archaeologists instantly thought they'd uncovered a royal retainer sacrifice. It was a practice in which a rich noble would have their servants slaughtered and buried alongside them. But that's not what this is. A team led by archaeologist David Wengrow tested DNA from 9 individuals buried at the site. What they found was unsettling. The victims weren't related. Most were adolescent girls, and they weren't locals. They were strangers, brought together from different places, all sacrificed in the same spot. But why? That's the question haunting this site. Wengrow argues that this wasn't just a royal affair, but something rooted in age, gender, and social roles. Forget kings and queens. This might have been an age-based initiation trial. Many ancient civilizations had rites of passage for when young people came into adulthood. What was just found in Turkey might be the most twisted version of a rite of passage yet. While some of these teens died, others may have survived and moved on to adulthood, gaining status in the process. The problem is that archaeologists don't know what the rite of passage involved, only that it was brutal. Think the Hunger Games, but real. That's one speculative theory researchers are floating anyway, but the truth is still buried. And here's something most archaeologists don't talk about: adolescence. Wengrow said scientists and historians haven't paid enough attention to adolescence as a crucial stage in ancient human life. They study children and adults, but rarely focus on the people stuck in that limbo between childhood and adulthood. Yet in this ancient society, adolescence was obviously hugely important. Important enough people had to fight and bleed to surpass their childhood. This grave contains the bodies of those who failed to transition into adulthood. Today, people like you and I might never fully understand the meaning of their deaths. No writing survives to explain it, but with more tests coming, like isotope analysis to track their geographical origins, we may get closer to knowing where they came from, and maybe even why they were chosen. The bottom line is that Bronze Age Mesopotamia wasn't just kings and pyramids and rules. It was people navigating complex social worlds, sometimes in beautiful ways, sometimes in terrifying ones, and sometimes teenagers paid the highest price. Would you have made it to adulthood in Mesopotamia? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe and check back soon for more awesome videos from the channel.